The key turned in the lock like any other Tuesday evening. Naomi pushed open the door to the home she had bought 5 years ago, the home where she had built a life with the man she thought would be her partner forever. The living room lights were on, which was strange because Trevor usually worked late on Tuesdays. She could hear voices coming from the kitchen. "Trevor?" she called out, setting down her laptop bag and rolling her small suitcase to the side. She had been in Seattle for 3 days, meeting with potential investors for a project she had been working on for months. She was tired, ready for a shower and maybe some takeout. "In here?" His voice came back, flat and cold in a way she had never heard before. Naomi walked toward the kitchen, already feeling something was wrong. The air felt different. Heavy. When she rounded the corner, she stopped dead in her tracks. Trevor sat at their kitchen table with a woman she had never seen before. The woman was blonde, pretty, wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than Naomi's entire work wardrobe. She had her hand on Trevor's arm, possessive and comfortable. "Naomi," Trevor said, standing up slowly. He did not smile. He did not look uncomfortable or guilty. He looked determined. "We need to talk." "Who is this?" Naomi asked, looking between them. Her heart was pounding now, her tired brain trying to catch up with what she was seeing. "This is Brittany," Trevor said simply. "Brittany, this is Naomi. My wife." The way he said, "my wife," sounded like he was saying, "my old car," or "my expired gym membership." Something he was about to get rid of. Brittany smiled at her. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who had already won. "I'm going to be direct because you deserve that much," Trevor continued, and Naomi felt her legs go weak. "I want a divorce. I've wanted one for a while now, but I waited until I was sure about my future. And now I am. Brittany and I are getting married." The words hit Naomi like physical blows. Married. Divorce. Future. Her brain tried to process each word separately because together they made no sense. "What?" was all she could manage to say. "You're a good person, Naomi," Trevor said, and his tone was so patronizing it made her stomach turn. "But let's be honest. You've been holding me back. I'm a sales executive. I network with wealthy people. I need a partner who can match that lifestyle. Someone with connections. Someone who understands the world I'm trying to build." "I bought this house," Naomi whispered. "I paid for everything." "With your little tech job, I know," Trevor said dismissively. "And that's fine for you. But Brittany's father owns one of the largest tech companies in the Pacific Northwest. Do you understand what that means for me? For my career? Her family has the kind of money and power that can set me up for life." Naomi looked at Brittany, who was still smiling that horrible smile. "You're okay with this?" Naomi asked her. "You're okay with him leaving his wife for money and connections?" "I'm okay with being with someone who knows what he wants," Brittany said smoothly. "Trevor has ambition. He deserves someone who can help him reach his full potential. No offense, but you've been dragging him down to your level for years." "My level?" Naomi repeated, feeling anger start to burn through the shock. "You work in IT or something, right?" Brittany said with a little laugh. "That's fine, but Trevor needs more than fine. He needs exceptional. He needs access to the kind of world my family moves in." Trevor put his hand on Brittany's shoulder. "I've already talked to a lawyer. I'm filing for divorce next week. I think we should split everything 50-50. The house, the cars, the savings. That's fair." "Fair?" Naomi said numbly. "I'll stay with Brittany until we figure out the living arrangements," Trevor continued, like he was discussing a business transaction. "Her father already offered me a position at his company. Executive level. 6 figures, full benefits, stock options. This is the opportunity I've been waiting for, Naomi. And I can't take you with me." "You don't even know me," Naomi said quietly. "After 8 years, you don't know anything about me." "I know enough," Trevor said. "I know you're content with being average. And I'm not. I never have been." Brittany stood up, smoothing down her skirt. "We should go, baby. We have dinner reservations at 8. She looked at Naomi with fake sympathy. "I'm sure this is hard, but honestly, you'll probably be happier too. You can find someone more on your level. Someone who doesn't have big dreams." They walked out of the kitchen together, leaving Naomi standing alone in her own home. She heard the front door open and close. Heard Trevor's car start in the driveway. Heard it pull away, taking him toward his new life with someone he thought could give him everything. Naomi stood there for a long time, staring at the kitchen table where her husband had just ended their marriage for money and status and connections he thought he needed. She thought about the business she had built in secret. The company that had grown from a small software startup in their spare bedroom to something much bigger. The investments she had made. the board she sat on, the decisions she made every day that affected hundreds of employees. She thought about how Trevor had no idea who she really was. No idea what she had built while he was out networking and making sales calls and dreaming of climbing social ladders. And slowly, very slowly, Naomi started to smile. The night after Trevor left, Naomi could not sleep. She sat in her home office, the room Trevor barely ever entered, and looked at the photographs on her wall. There was one from their wedding 8 years ago, both of them young and happy and full of hope. There was one from the day she graduated with her computer science degree, Trevor beside her in the crowd. There was one from the day they moved into this house, standing on the front porch together. She took that last photo down and looked at it closely. She had been so proud that day. She had saved and invested and worked herself to exhaustion to buy this house. Trevor had contributed to the down payment, but the mortgage was in her name. The deed was in her name. He had been happy to let her handle all the financial details while he focused on his sales career. Naomi set the photo face down on her desk and opened her laptop. She needed to remember how she got here. How she built everything that Trevor knew nothing about. They met in college at a party thrown by mutual friends. Trevor was 2 years older, working on his business degree, charming and confident in a way that made Naomi feel special when he paid attention to her. She was shy back then, focused on her coding assignments and her dream of creating something meaningful with technology. Trevor made her feel like she could be more than just a programmer. He made her feel like she could be someone who belonged in rooms with important people. They dated through her last 2 years of college. Trevor graduated first and got a sales job at a medical supply company. He was good at it, making decent money, buying nice clothes, taking her to nice restaurants. When Naomi graduated, she got a job at a software company making half what Trevor made. He used to joke about it, how he was the breadwinner, how she was his brilliant little programmer. But Naomi had not told him about the side project she started working on in their small apartment. She had noticed a gap in the market for small businesses trying to manage their inventory and customer data. The existing software was either too expensive or too complicated. She knew she could build something better, simpler, more affordable. She worked on it at night after dinner while Trevor watched television or went out with his sales team. She told him she was just learning new programming languages, keeping her skills sharp. He never asked for details. Technology bored him unless it made him money. After a year, Naomi had a working prototype. She tested it with a few small businesses she found through online forums. They loved it. They asked if they could pay her for it. She set up a basic website, charged a small monthly fee, and suddenly she had her first 10 customers. That was 6 years ago. 6 years of quietly growing her business while Trevor climbed his own career ladder. She hired her first employee, a college student named Rachel who helped with customer service. Then she brought on another programmer to help her scale the software. She formed an LLC, kept the finances separate from their personal accounts, and told Trevor she was doing consulting work on the side for extra money. He never questioned it. As far as he knew, she was making a few $100s a month helping small businesses with their computer problems. 3 years ago, her business caught the attention of a man named Gerald who ran his own tech investment firm. He reached out after seeing her software featured in a small business magazine article. They met for coffee and he asked her what her 5-year plan was. Naomi told him the truth. She wanted to expand. She wanted to hire more developers, improve the software and serve mid-sized companies, not just small businesses. She wanted to build something that mattered. Gerald offered to invest. He also offered to mentor her to help her navigate the business side of technology. He became her silent partner, owning 30% of the company while she retained 70% control. Together they grew her small side business into something real. They hired 20 employees, then 40, then 60. They moved from the spare bedroom to a small office, then to a larger office, then to a full floor in a downtown building. Naomi's software was being used by over 500 companies. Revenue was in the millions. And Trevor knew none of it. To him, she was still just his wife who worked in IT, making her salary, contributing to their household expenses. She told him she got a promotion, which was why she could contribute more to their savings. She told him her consulting work was going well, which was why she could afford nicer clothes and better vacations. He believed her because he never looked deeper. He never asked to see her work. He never asked about her day beyond surface pleasantries. He was too busy networking, making connections, dreaming about the big break that would make him wealthy and important. Naomi kept her business life and her home life completely separate. Her employees knew her as their boss, the brilliant founder who built something from nothing. Trevor knew her as his wife who worked long hours at a tech job he did not understand. She told herself she was protecting the business. If they ever got divorced, she did not want him to have any claim to what she built. She set up corporate structures that kept her company completely separate from their marriage. She took a modest salary and reinvested everything else into growth. But there was another reason she never told him, a reason she barely admitted to herself. She knew Trevor valued her for what she could give him, not for who she was. She knew he saw her as someone simple, someone safe, someone who would never outshine him. If he knew the truth about her success, about the company she built, about the wealth she was creating, everything would change. She had been right to hide it. Tonight proved that. The moment Trevor thought he found someone with more money, better connections, higher status, he threw her away like she meant nothing. Naomi closed her laptop and looked around her home office. This room was filled with awards Trevor never asked about, contracts he never read, plans for an empire he never knew existed. She had built all of this while married to a man who thought she was beneath him. Tomorrow she would call her lawyer and make sure the divorce went smoothly. She would give Trevor exactly what he asked for, half of their visible assets, the house, the cars, the savings account he knew about. She would let him think he won. And then, when the time was right, she would show him exactly who he had thrown away. 1 week later, Trevor's lawyer called to schedule a meeting. Naomi sat in a conference room at a downtown law office, across from Trevor and a man in an expensive suit who looked like he ate divorces for breakfast. Her own lawyer, Patricia, sat beside her with a calm expression. "Let's make this simple," Trevor's lawyer said, sliding papers across the table. "My client is requesting a 50-50 division of all marital assets. The house, the vehicles, the savings and checking accounts, the retirement funds, and any other jointly acquired property." Naomi picked up the papers and read through them slowly. Trevor sat across from her, not quite meeting her eyes. He was wearing a new suit, probably bought with Brittany's money. His hair was freshly cut. He looked like he was already living his new life. "This seems fair," Naomi said quietly. Trevor's lawyer blinked, clearly surprised. "You're agreeing to the terms?" "Yes," Naomi said. She looked at Trevor directly. "I'll sign whatever you want. You can have the house. I'll buy something smaller. You can have your car, I'll keep mine. We'll split the savings account down the middle. I'm not going to fight you." Patricia touched her arm gently. They had already discussed this strategy. Naomi knew exactly what she was doing. "That's very reasonable," Trevor's lawyer said, though he sounded suspicious. Lawyers always were when things went too smoothly. "I just want this to be over," Naomi said, and that part was true. 8 years is a long time to be with someone. "I'm not going to drag this out and make it ugly. If you want to move on, then move on." Trevor finally looked at her. "I appreciate that, Naomi. I know this is hard, but you're handling it with class." She almost laughed. "Class?" He was telling her she had class while he sat there with his divorce lawyer, days after walking out on their marriage. But she kept her face neutral, professional. "There is one thing," Patricia said, pulling out her own set of papers. "My client has significant assets that were acquired before the marriage or kept separate during the marriage. We need to ensure those are not part of the settlement." Trevor's lawyer frowned. "What assets?" "My client owns an LLC that she formed before the marriage," Patricia said smoothly. "She has investments, retirement accounts, and other holdings that are solely in her name and were never commingled with marital property. We're providing documentation to show these are separate assets not subject to division." "What LLC?" Trevor asked, looking at Naomi with confusion. "It's just a small consulting business," Naomi said, which was technically true. "I formed it years ago for tax purposes. It's not worth much." Patricia slid documents across the table showing the LLC formation, corporate structure, and a financial statement that showed modest assets. The statement was accurate but incomplete. It showed the company's value from 5 years ago, before the major growth, before Gerald's investment, before they scaled to hundreds of clients. Trevor's lawyer skimmed the documents. "This all looks in order. These assets are clearly separate property." "Good," Naomi said. "Then we're done?" They spent another hour going through details. Trevor would keep the house but refinance to get Naomi's name off the mortgage. They would split their savings account, which had about $60,000 in it. They would each keep their own cars, their own retirement accounts from their jobs, their own personal property. Naomi signed every paper without hesitation. She watched Trevor sign his name with a little smile on his face, probably thinking about how he was about to marry into money and power, probably thinking he got everything he wanted. "I'll move out this weekend," Naomi said as they stood to leave. "I'll take my clothes and personal items. You can have the furniture and everything else." "You don't want to fight for the furniture?" Trevor asked, and she could hear the satisfaction in his voice. He thought she was giving up, rolling over, making it easy for him because she had no fight in her. "It's just furniture," Naomi said with a shrug. "I can buy new furniture." As they walked out of the conference room, Trevor stopped her in the hallway. Brittany was waiting for him by the elevators, scrolling through her phone. "I really do hope you find someone good," Trevor said, and he sounded almost sincere. "Someone who makes you happy. You deserve that." Naomi looked at him, this man she had loved for 8 years, this man who thought he knew her. "I'll be fine, Trevor. Don't worry about me. I just don't want you to be alone," he said. "I know you're not great at putting yourself out there. But there's someone out there for everyone, you know? Someone on your level." There was again. Your level. Like she was some common thing, some ordinary person who should be grateful for whatever scraps of affection came her way. "I'll keep that in mind," Naomi said, and walked toward the elevator where Brittany was waiting. She heard them talking as she pushed the button for the lobby. "That was easier than I thought," Trevor said to Brittany. "See? I told you she wouldn't fight," Brittany replied. "Girls like that never do. They just accept what they're given and move on." The elevator doors closed before Naomi could hear more. She rode down to the lobby with Patricia, neither of them speaking until they were outside on the sidewalk. "That went well," Patricia said with a small smile. "He has no idea what he just walked away from." "Not yet," Naomi agreed. "But he will." She spent the weekend packing. She took her clothes, her books, her laptop, and the contents of her home office. She left everything else. The furniture they bought together, the kitchen supplies, the decorations, the television, all of it. She packed it all into her car and a small moving truck, and by Sunday evening she was standing in an empty apartment she had rented across town. It was smaller than the house. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a living room and kitchen combination. But it was hers, only hers, and when she closed the door behind her, she felt lighter than she had in years. Her phone buzzed with a text from Gerald. "Heard the divorce is moving forward. You okay?" She typed back, "Better than okay. Phase 1 complete." He responded with a thumbs-up emoji and, "Ready for phase 2? Naomi looked around her small, empty apartment. She thought about Trevor in their old house with Brittany, probably celebrating his freedom, probably planning his new life and his new job at what he thought was his father-in-law's company. "Ready?" she typed back. 2 months after signing the divorce papers, Naomi settled into her new life. The apartment that felt empty at first now felt like home. She bought simple furniture from online stores, hung up her favorite photos, and set up her home office in the corner of the living room. Everything was neat, organized, and entirely hers. She threw herself into work with an intensity that surprised even her. Every morning she woke up at 6, made coffee in her small kitchen, and was at her desk by 7. She attended virtual meetings with clients, reviewed code with her development team, and worked with Gerald on their expansion plans. Her company was about to take a major leap forward. They had developed a new version of their software that could handle enterprise-level clients, not just small and mid-sized businesses. Gerald had connections at several Fortune 500 companies who were interested in testing it. "We need to hire more people," Gerald said during one of their weekly strategy meetings. "If we're going to handle enterprise clients, we need dedicated account managers, more customer service staff, and at least 5 more developers." "I know," Naomi said, looking at the spreadsheets on her screen. "We have the money to do it. We're profitable enough to support the growth. We should also think about moving to a bigger office," Gerald continued. "The space we have now is fine for 60 people, but if we're expanding to enterprise level, we need room to grow. And we need to look more established." "What did you have in mind?" Gerald pulled up photos on his screen. "There's a building downtown, tech hub area, lots of other successful companies in the same complex. 5 floors available. We could take 3 floors now with the option to expand to all 5 if we keep growing at this rate." Naomi studied the photos. The building was modern, all glass and steel, with views of the city skyline. It was exactly the kind of place where serious tech companies lived. "How much?" Gerald named a figure that made her pause, but only for a moment. "We can afford it. Especially if the enterprise deals come through." "Then let's do it," Naomi decided. "Start the paperwork. I want to move before the end of the quarter." After the meeting, Naomi allowed herself a moment to just sit and think. 2 months ago, she was living in a house with a man who thought she was ordinary. Now she was making decisions about taking 3 floors in a premium office building. The contrast was almost funny. Her phone buzzed with a text from her friend Michelle. "Coffee this weekend? I want to hear how you're doing." Michelle was one of the few people who knew the whole truth. She worked as a financial advisor, and she had helped Naomi structure her business finances years ago. She also happened to be one of the only people Naomi trusted completely. Saturday morning? Naomi typed back. Perfect. Same coffee shop. See you there. Saturday morning came with cool air and clear skies. Naomi met Michelle at their favorite coffee shop, a small place with good pastries and better coffee. Michelle was already there when she arrived, sitting at their usual table by the window. You look good, Michelle said as Naomi sat down. Better than I expected. Better than the sad divorced woman you were expecting? Naomi asked with a slight smile. Maybe, Michelle admitted. I know Trevor leaving was hard. But you seem like you're okay. More than okay, actually. Naomi sipped her coffee. I'm okay. Actually, I'm great. It's strange, but I feel like myself for the first time in years. I didn't realize how much energy I was spending trying to be what Trevor wanted me to be. What did he want you to be? Small, Naomi said simply. He wanted me to be small and simple and satisfied with being less than I am. Every time I wanted to talk about work, he would change the subject. Every time I got excited about something I built, he would nod and then talk about his own day. It was like I was just background noise in his life. Michelle reached across the table and squeezed her hand. His loss. Truly. I know that now, Naomi said. At first, when he left, I felt like something was wrong with me. Like I wasn't good enough or interesting enough or connected enough. But now I realize that he was the one who wasn't enough. He couldn't see what was right in front of him because he was too busy chasing what he thought would make him important. Have you heard anything about him and Brittany? Naomi shook her head. I deleted him from all my social media. I don't want to know. Whatever they're doing, it's not my business anymore. But Michelle pulled out her phone with a guilty expression. I've been keeping track. Just out of curiosity. Do you want to know? Naomi hesitated, then nodded. Tell me. Michelle scrolled through her phone and turned it to show Naomi. Trevor's social media was public, and it was full of photos from the past 2 months. Him and Brittany at expensive restaurants. Him and Brittany at charity galas. Him and Brittany on a yacht. Him in a new suit, standing in front of a corporate building, announcing his new executive position at one of the leading tech companies in the region. He thinks he's made it, Michelle said quietly. Naomi studied the photos. Trevor looked happy, proud, like he finally got everything he wanted. Brittany was always beside him, always smiling, always touching him possessively. They looked like the perfect power couple. Let him enjoy it, Naomi said, handing the phone back. It won't last. When are you going to tell him? Michelle asked. Soon, Naomi said. Very soon. We're moving to the new office building next month. We're onboarding our first enterprise clients. And we're making some changes to our leadership structure that will make everything very clear. I can't wait to see his face when he finds out. Naomi smiled. Neither can I. They finished their coffee and talked about other things. Michelle was dating someone new, a lawyer who actually listened when she talked. Naomi told her about her plans for the company, her excitement about the expansion, her vision for where they could be in 5 years. What about you? Michelle asked as they were leaving. Are you dating anyone? Naomi shook her head. Not really. I've been on a few dates, but nothing serious. I'm not in a hurry. Good, Michelle said. Take your time. Find someone who actually sees you. That night, as Naomi was working in her home office, her phone rang with an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello. Hi, is this Naomi? A man's voice asked. This is James Peterson. I'm an architect with Morrison Design. Gerald gave me your number and said you might be interested in discussing office space customization. Oh yes, Naomi said, sitting up straighter. Gerald had mentioned hiring an architect to help design the new office space. Thanks for calling. I know it's Saturday night, James said apologetically. But Gerald said you're eager to get started on this project. Would you have time next week to meet and discuss your vision? They set up a meeting for Tuesday afternoon. James sounded professional, straightforward, easy to talk to. Naomi made a note in her calendar and went back to work. She did not know it yet, but that phone call would change more than just her office space. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, Trevor and Brittany got married. Naomi knew about it because the event was all over social media. The wedding took place at an expensive venue with hundreds of guests, elaborate flower arrangements, and a live band. Trevor posted photos with captions about marrying his best friend and starting his new life with the love of his life. Naomi saw the photos because Michelle sent them to her with a message. You okay? I know this might be hard to see. But Naomi was not in her apartment when she got the message. She was at the new office building working late on a Saturday night because she chose to, not because she had to. Her company had moved in 2 weeks ago, and the space was beautiful. 3 floors of open workspace, private offices, conference rooms, and a break room with a view of the city that made everyone stop and stare the first time they saw it. James had done an incredible job with the design. He understood immediately what she wanted. Professional but warm, modern but comfortable, a space that made people want to work there. They had spent hours going over plans, and somewhere during those hours, they had started talking about more than just office design. James was different from Trevor in every way. He listened when Naomi talked about her company, asked intelligent questions, and seemed genuinely impressed by what she had built. He was kind without being weak, confident without being arrogant. He made her laugh, which was something she had not done enough of in the past few years. They had been on 5 dates so far. Nothing serious yet, but something that felt like it could become serious if they both wanted it to. "I'm fine," Naomi texted back to Michelle. "Actually, I'm glad he's happy. Makes what's coming next even better." "When?" Michelle asked. "Monday," Naomi replied. "Trevor starts his new job on Monday." She set down her phone and looked around the executive office that James had designed for her. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a desk made of reclaimed wood, bookshelves filled with coding manuals and business books, and on the wall, her framed degrees and the awards her company had won over the past few years. Gerald knocked on her open door. "Working late?" "Just getting ready for Monday," Naomi said. "Is everything set?" "Everything's set," Gerald confirmed. He came into her office and sat in one of the chairs across from her desk. "Trevor will arrive at 9 for orientation. HR will bring him to the conference room for his first meeting. The entire executive team will be there." "Including me," Naomi said. "Including you," Gerald agreed. "Are you nervous?" "Not even a little bit," Naomi said honestly. "I've been waiting for this moment for months." "I'm ready," Gerald smiled. He has no idea what's about to hit him. That's what makes it perfect. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Gerald had become more than just a business partner over the years. He was a mentor, a friend, someone who believed in her when she was just a programmer with an idea. "You know," Gerald said, "I never liked Trevor. Even before all this. I met him a few times at your company parties and there was always something off about him. The way he talked about you, like you were some hobby he had instead of his partner." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because it wasn't my place," Gerald said. "And because I knew you were smart enough to figure it out eventually. I just didn't think it would happen this way." "Me neither," Naomi admitted. "I thought we would grow old together. I thought he loved me. But looking back, I don't think he ever really saw me. He saw what he wanted me to be, and when someone else offered him something better, he left." "His mistake." "His very expensive mistake," Naomi said with a slight smile. They talked for a few more minutes about Monday's meeting, about the new clients they were bringing on, about the future of the company. Then Gerald left and Naomi sat alone in her office, looking out at the city lights. Her phone buzzed with a text from James. "Hope you're not working too late. Remember, even bosses need sleep." She smiled and typed back, "Just finishing up. How was your weekend?" "Good. Finished up a project that's been taking forever. Free for dinner this week?" "Wednesday," she suggested. "Perfect. I'll pick you up at 7. Naomi set down her phone and took one more look at the photos Michelle had sent her. Trevor in his expensive suit, Brittany in her designer wedding dress, both of them smiling like they had won the lottery. They looked so happy, so confident, so sure that they had made all the right choices. Tomorrow was Sunday. Trevor and Brittany were probably on their honeymoon somewhere expensive and beautiful. They were probably lying by a pool or exploring a new city, completely unaware that their perfect new life was about to fall apart. Naomi shut down her computer and gathered her things. She took the elevator down to the parking garage and drove home to her small apartment. She made herself dinner, took a long shower, and went to bed early because she wanted to be rested for Monday. Monday morning would change everything. Monday morning, Trevor would walk into his new job expecting to start his new life as an executive at a major tech company. Monday morning he would find out exactly who owned that company. And Monday morning, Naomi would finally get to see his face when he realized what he had thrown away. Monday morning arrived cold and bright. Naomi woke up at 6, went for a short run, showered, and dressed carefully in a navy suit that she had bought specifically for this day. She wanted to look professional, powerful, like the CEO she had become. She styled her hair, put on minimal makeup, and drove to the office with her heart beating steady and strong. The office was already buzzing when she arrived at 8. Employees were at their desks, coffee was brewing in the break rooms, and the energy of a new week was filling the air. Several people greeted her as she walked through the second floor toward the elevator. "Morning, boss," called out Rachel, who had been her first employee and was now her head of customer success. "Good morning," Naomi replied with a smile. She took the elevator to the third floor, where the executive offices were located. Gerald was already in the conference room, setting up for the meeting. The room had a long table with chairs on both sides and a screen on the wall for presentations. "Ready?" he asked when she walked in. "Ready," she confirmed. "Trevor should be here in about 30 minutes, Gerald said, checking his watch. "HR will meet him in the lobby, give him his badge and paperwork, and bring him up here for his first meeting." "Who else is joining us?" "The full executive team. Me, you, Rebecca from HR, Thomas from operations, and Denise from finance. We want him to see the entire leadership structure right away." The other executives arrived over the next 15 minutes. They all knew what was about to happen, and there was a sense of anticipation in the air. Nobody particularly liked what Trevor had done to Naomi, and they were all looking forward to this moment. At exactly 9 o'clock, Gerald's phone buzzed with a message from the front desk. "He's here." Naomi sat at the head of the conference table. Gerald sat to her right. The other executives filled in the remaining seats. They could hear voices in the hallway, the HR manager showing Trevor around, explaining office layouts and procedures. The voices got closer. The conference room door opened, and Trevor walked in. He was wearing a new suit, probably bought for his first day. His hair was perfectly styled. He had a confident smile on his face, the smile of a man who thought he had finally made it to where he belonged. The smile disappeared the second he saw Naomi. His face went through several emotions in rapid succession: confusion, disbelief, shock, and then something close to horror. He stopped walking so suddenly that the HR manager almost bumped into him. "What are you doing here?" Trevor asked, staring at Naomi. "I work here," Naomi said calmly. "Please have a seat." "I don't understand," Trevor said. He looked at Gerald. "You're supposed to be Brittany's father. You own this company." "I've never met Brittany," Gerald said. "And I don't own this company. I'm a minority partner and chief operating officer. Naomi owns this company. She's the founder and CEO." Trevor looked back at Naomi, his face pale. "That's impossible. You worked in IT. You had a regular job." "I had my own company," Naomi corrected. "The one I built from nothing while you were focused on climbing other people's ladders. The LLC you saw paperwork for during our divorce? This is it. You just never asked questions about how big it was." "But you were just a programmer," Trevor said weakly. "You worked from home on your laptop." "I was building a software company," Naomi said. "From our apartment, then from a small office, then from a bigger office, and now from here. 3 floors in this building. 90 employees. Annual revenue in the 8 figures. And 100% owned by me." Trevor slowly sat down in one of the empty chairs, his face still pale. "Brittany said her father owned a major tech company. She said he was offering me an executive position." "I offered you a position," Gerald said. "Through our HR department. Standard procedure for all new hires. But I'm not Brittany's father. I don't even know who her father is." "He's our chief operating officer," Rebecca from HR added. "But that's not the same as being the owner or CEO. I'm not sure where the confusion came from." Trevor's hands were shaking slightly on the table. "She told me. She said her father owned this company. She said he wanted to bring me on as an executive." "The position we offered you was in sales," Rebecca continued. "A standard sales position with standard compensation. Not executive level. We do need experienced salespeople as we expand to enterprise clients, and your resume was good. That's why we made the offer." "But she said," Trevor repeated, and he sounded lost now. "She said I would be making 6 figures. Stock options. Executive benefits. Sales positions can make 6 figures if you're good at it," Gerald said. "With commission and bonuses. But it's not executive level. That's a misunderstanding." Naomi watched Trevor's face as reality crashed down on him. She could see him putting the pieces together. Brittany had lied. Her father was not the owner of this company. The executive position was not real. The future Trevor thought he was marrying into did not exist. "We're going to cancel the job offer," Naomi said quietly. "It's not appropriate for you to work here, given our history. I'm sorry you were misled about what this position entailed." "You're firing me?" Trevor asked, looking up at her. "Before I even started?" I'm withdrawing an offer that was made under false pretenses, Naomi corrected. If you had been honest about your connection to me during the hiring process, we never would have extended the offer in the first place. Connection. Trevor repeated. We're divorced. That's not a connection. You're my ex-husband, Naomi said. That's a connection. And it's a conflict of interest. I can't have you working for my company. Trevor stood up suddenly, his chair scraping against the floor. This is because I left you. You're doing this out of revenge. I'm doing this because it's inappropriate, Naomi said, her voice still calm. If you had known who owned this company, would you have accepted the job? Trevor opened his mouth, then closed it. They both knew the answer. If he had known Naomi owned this company, he never would have taken the job. He left her because he thought Brittany's connections would give him a better future. The whole point was to marry into money and power. How long have you owned this company? Trevor asked quietly. I founded it 8 years ago, Naomi said. Right after we got married. I built it while we were together. 8 years, Trevor repeated. You've been running a multi-million-dollar company for 8 years and you never told me? You never asked, Naomi said simply. You knew I had an LLC. You knew I did consulting work. You just never cared enough to ask for details. You assumed I was small and ordinary, so that's what you saw. Trevor looked around the conference room at the executives sitting at the table, at the view of the city through the windows, at everything that represented the company Naomi had built. How much is this company worth? That's confidential, Gerald said. How much? Trevor demanded, his voice rising. Naomi looked at him steadily. More than you would have gotten in a divorce if you had known about it. Much more. The color drained from Trevor's face completely. She could see him doing the math, realizing what he had walked away from. He had divorced her thinking she was just a regular tech worker with a modest income. He had settled for half of their visible assets. The house, the savings account, the cars, thinking that was all there was. He had never known about the real money. The company. The investments. The wealth that Naomi had carefully kept separate and hidden. You let me think you were poor, Trevor said, and there was anger in his voice now. I let you think what you wanted to think, Naomi corrected. I never lied. I just never told you how successful my business had become. You made assumptions and I didn't correct them. Because you were planning this, Trevor accused. You were planning to divorce me and keep everything. No, Naomi said firmly. I built this company to protect myself, but I never planned to leave you. You're the one who left me, Trevor. You're the one who walked out on our marriage because you thought you found someone with better connections. You're the one who chose money and status over the person who actually loved you. Trevor grabbed the edge of the table, and for a moment Naomi thought he might flip it over. But instead he just stood there, breathing hard, looking at her with a mixture of rage and desperation. I need this job, he said finally. Brittany's father doesn't actually have a company. She lied to me. We spent everything on the wedding. I quit my old job. I need this. That's not my problem, Naomi said quietly. You made your choices, Trevor. You have to live with them. Rebecca stood up. I'll show you out, Mr. Collins. Trevor looked at Naomi one more time. You're really not going to help me? No, Naomi said. I'm really not. He walked out of the conference room with Rebecca, his shoulders slumped, his confident stride gone. Naomi watched him go, feeling nothing but relief. Gerald leaned back in his chair. That went well. He's going to tell Brittany, Denise said. And Brittany's going to realize she married someone with no money and no prospects. Not my problem, Naomi said, echoing her own words. They made their choices. She stood up and looked at her executive team. Thank you all for being here. I know this was personal, but I appreciate your support. You deserved this moment, Thomas said. After what he did to you. Naomi smiled. Maybe. But honestly, this company isn't about him. It was never about him. This is about what I built, what we all built together. He was just a reminder that I don't need anyone who doesn't see my value. The meeting ended and everyone went back to their offices. Naomi sat alone in the conference room for a few minutes, looking out at the city. Her phone buzzed with a text from James. How did it go? She typed back, perfect. Absolutely perfect. Want to talk about it over dinner tonight instead of Wednesday? Yes, Naomi replied. Definitely yes. She put her phone away and went back to work. There were clients to call, projects to manage, and a company to run. Trevor was already fading into her past, a lesson learned, a chapter closed. And for the first time in a long time, Naomi felt completely at peace. Trevor sat in his car in the parking garage for 20 minutes, unable to move. His hands were still shaking. His mind kept replaying the scene in the conference room. Naomi at the head of the table, Gerald beside her, the entire executive team looking at him like he was something small and insignificant. She owned a company. A real company. A successful company. And he had never known. Finally, he started the car and drove back to the house. His house now, the one Naomi had given him in the divorce. When he pulled into the driveway, Brittany's car was there. She was supposed to be at work, but maybe she had taken the day off after their honeymoon. He walked into the house and found her in the living room, still in her pajamas, watching television. "Hey baby," she said with a smile. "How was your first day at work?" Trevor stood in the doorway looking at her. "Your father doesn't own that company." The smile disappeared from Brittany's face. "What?" "The company where I was supposed to start working today," Trevor said slowly. "Your father doesn't own it. He's not the CEO. He's not even a major partner." Brittany stood up. "What are you talking about?" "Of course he does." "No," Trevor said. "He doesn't. Naomi owns it. My ex-wife. She's the founder and CEO. Your father is the chief operating officer, which is not the same thing. Why did you lie to me?" Brittany's face went pale. "I didn't lie. You told me your father owned one of the largest tech companies in the region," Trevor interrupted. "You told me he was going to give me an executive position. You told me you came from money and connections. Was any of that true?" "My father has an important position," Brittany said defensively. "He's the COO. That's executive level. But he doesn't own the company," Trevor pressed. "And the job he helped arrange for me wasn't an executive position. It was a regular sales job. And now I don't even have that because they withdrew the offer." "They can't do that," Brittany said, but she sounded uncertain now. "They just did," Trevor said. "Because I failed to disclose that I was married to the CEO. Which I didn't know I was because you lied to me about who owned the company." Brittany wrapped her arms around herself. "I didn't think it mattered. My father works there. That's still a good connection." "It matters because I left my wife thinking I was marrying into money and power," Trevor said, his voice rising. "I divorced Naomi because you told me your family could give me the future I deserved. But it turns out Naomi had that future all along and I threw it away for nothing." "For nothing?" Brittany repeated, her voice sharp now. "Is that what I am to you? Nothing?" "You lied to me," Trevor said. "About everything. Your father's position, the job, the connections. What else did you lie about?" "I stretched the truth a little," Brittany admitted. "But lots of people do that. I wanted you to see me as someone important. Someone worth your time." "By making me leave my wife?" Trevor asked. "By making me think I was trading up when I was actually throwing away something real?" "Something real." Brittany laughed bitterly. "You didn't love Naomi. You told me yourself she was boring. You said she had no ambition, no social skills, no idea how to network or be the kind of partner you needed." "Because I didn't know who she really was," Trevor said quietly. "I thought she was just a programmer with a regular job. But she built a company worth millions. While we were married. While I was complaining about her being boring and ordinary. She was building an empire and I never even noticed." Brittany sat down on the couch, her face hard. "So what now? You want to go crawling back to her? Good luck with that. I'm sure she'll be thrilled to take back the man who left her for another woman." "I don't know what I want," Trevor said. "I just know that I quit my job, spent all my savings on our wedding, and now I'm unemployed with no prospects." "Get another job," Brittany said coldly. "You're a salesman. That's what you do." "At the salary level I was at before?" Trevor asked. "Sure. I can find another sales job. But it won't be executive level. It won't be 6 figures. It'll be starting over from scratch. And I'll be doing it while living in a house I can barely afford and married to someone who lied to me about everything." Brittany stood up, her face flushed with anger. "Don't put this all on me. You wanted to marry me because you thought I could make you important. You used me just as much as you're accusing me of using you." She was right and Trevor knew it. He had pursued Brittany because she represented what he wanted. Wealth, status, connections to powerful people. He had convinced himself that he loved her, but really he had loved what he thought she could give him. "Where are you going?" Trevor asked as Brittany grabbed her purse and keys. "Out," she said. "I need to think." She slammed the door behind her, and Trevor heard her car start and pull out of the driveway. He stood alone in the living room of the house Naomi had bought, surrounded by the furniture she had left behind, and felt the weight of his mistakes crushing down on him. He pulled out his phone and found Naomi's number. He typed out a message. "I'm sorry. I was wrong about everything. Can we talk?" He stared at the message for a long time before hitting send. Then he waited. And waited. Hours passed. Evening came. Brittany didn't come home. And Naomi never responded. Finally, late that night, Trevor got a response. But it wasn't from Naomi. It was from a number he didn't recognize. "This is Naomi's assistant. Ms. Williams has asked me to inform you that she has no interest in communicating with you. Please do not contact her again." Trevor read the message 3 times. Then he threw his phone across the room where it hit the wall and clattered to the floor. The next morning, Brittany still wasn't home. Trevor called her phone and got voicemail. He sent texts that went unread. Finally, around noon, she sent him a single message: "Staying at my parents' house. Need space. Don't call me." Trevor sat in the empty house and pulled up Naomi's company website on his laptop. There she was on the About Us page, listed as founder and CEO. Her photo showed her looking professional and confident, nothing like the quiet woman he thought he knew. The company bio described how she had built the business from nothing, how it now served over 600 clients, how it had won multiple awards for innovation and growth. He clicked through to news articles about the company. There were several from the past year, profiling Naomi as one of the rising stars in tech. One article called her the quiet genius behind one of the region's fastest-growing software companies. Another talked about her innovative approach to serving small and mid-sized businesses with enterprise-level tools. Every article included photos of Naomi at conferences, at award ceremonies, at business events. In every photo, she looked happy, accomplished, and completely comfortable in her success. Trevor had never seen her look that way. In all their years together, she had been quiet, reserved, focused on her work in a way that seemed almost apologetic. He had thought she was shy and uncertain. Now he realized she had just been living in 2 different worlds. The one where she was his wife, small and ordinary, and the one where she was a successful CEO, confident and powerful. He had only known her in the first world. And now that world was gone. His phone rang. It was his old boss from the medical supply company where he used to work. "Trevor," his old boss said when he answered. "I heard through the grapevine that your new job fell through. Is that true?" "Yeah," Trevor admitted. "It didn't work out." "Sorry to hear that. Look, I'm calling because we need someone on the sales team. I know you left here on good terms, and if you're looking for work, we'd be happy to have you back." It was a lifeline and Trevor grabbed it. "What's the position?" "Same as you had before. Base salary plus commission. Same territory, same clients." It was the job he left 6 months ago when he thought he was moving on to bigger and better things. Taking it back felt like admitting defeat. But he had bills to pay and no other options. "I'll take it," Trevor said. "When can I start?" "Next Monday work for you?" "Perfect." When he hung up, Trevor looked around the empty house. He had this house, a job that would barely cover the mortgage, and a wife who wasn't speaking to him. This was his new life. This was what he had traded Naomi for. He thought about the 8 years they spent together. The late nights when she would work on her laptop while he watched TV. The times she tried to tell him about her projects and he half listened. The way she would light up when she solved a problem, and how he never asked what problem she was solving. She had been building something incredible, and he had been too busy dreaming about climbing other people's ladders to notice. Now she was at the top of her own ladder and he was back at the bottom of someone else's. His phone buzzed with another message from Brittany. "I think we should take a break. This marriage was a mistake. I'm staying with my parents until I figure things out." Trevor read the message and felt nothing. No surprise, no sadness, just a hollow sense of inevitability. Of course their marriage was falling apart. It was built on lies and ambition instead of anything real. He typed back, "Okay." That was all he could manage. Just okay. Because nothing about this was okay, and there was no one to blame but himself. 2 weeks after Trevor's disastrous first day at Naomi's company, Brittany moved out. She came to the house while Trevor was at work, packed her things, and left her wedding ring on the kitchen counter with a note that said, "I can't do this anymore. My lawyer will contact you about the annulment." Trevor came home to find half the closet empty and the ring glinting under the kitchen light. He picked it up, turned it over in his fingers and set it back down. They had been married for less than 3 months. The ring had cost him $5,000 that he didn't have anymore. He called Brittany's phone. She didn't answer. He sent texts asking her to at least talk to him. The texts went unread. Finally, he got a message from her lawyer. "Ms. Brittany Foster has retained legal representation regarding the annulment of her marriage. Please direct all communication through this office." Trevor looked up annulment laws on his phone. Turns out, fraud was grounds for annulment in their state. If Brittany could prove she married him based on false pretenses, she could end the marriage like it never existed. And given that her lies about her father's company were what brought them together in the first place, she probably could prove that. He should have been angry. He should have fought back. But he was too tired. He signed the paperwork when it arrived and sent it back. Within 6 weeks, his marriage was legally void like it had never happened. Work at his old company was exactly as he remembered it. Long days making sales calls, trying to convince doctors' offices to buy medical supplies, competing with a dozen other salespeople for the same accounts. His boss was understanding but distant. His coworkers were polite but clearly uncomfortable. Everyone knew he had left for something better and come crawling back. Everyone knew his marriage had fallen apart. Trevor went through the motions. He made his calls, filed his reports, attended his meetings. He hit his numbers because he was good at sales, even when his personal life was a disaster. But the confidence was gone. The ambition that used to drive him felt empty now. He started seeing news about Naomi's company everywhere. They were growing fast, signing major clients, getting featured in business magazines. One article announced they were preparing to go public within the next year. Another article estimated the company's value in the hundreds of millions. Trevor did the math in his head one night, sitting alone in his house with a beer. If he had stayed married to Naomi, if he had known about her success, if he had supported her instead of dismissing her, he would have been part of that. Not legally, since she had kept the company separate, but they would have been partners. He would have shared in her success in ways that mattered. Instead, he had a job that paid $50,000 a year, a house he could barely afford, and nothing else. He tried to reach out to Naomi one more time, sending an email to her company address. "I know you don't want to hear from me, but I need you to know I'm sorry. I was wrong about everything. I didn't see what was right in front of me and I lost the best thing in my life. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know." He got an automated response. "This email address does not accept external messages. Please contact our customer service team if you need assistance." She had blocked him. Completely and professionally. Trevor heard through mutual friends that Naomi was dating someone. An architect. Someone successful and kind who treated her well. The friends who told him this were careful not to sound too happy about it, but he could tell they were. They had liked Naomi. They thought Trevor was an idiot for leaving her. They were right. One Saturday afternoon, Trevor drove past the building where Naomi's company was located. He parked across the street and just looked at it for a while. 3 floors of a modern office building, full of people working for the company Naomi had built. He could see through the windows on the ground floor. People at desks, moving through hallways, living their professional lives in a space she created. He wondered if she was in there working on a weekend like she used to do at home. He wondered if she ever thought about him, or if he had completely faded from her mind. His phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. It was his mother. "Trevor, honey," she said when he answered. "I just wanted to check on you. Your father and I are worried." "I'm fine, Mom," he said automatically. "You're not fine," she said gently. "You're divorced, your second marriage ended, and from what you've told us, you're struggling financially. That's not fine." Trevor closed his eyes. "I made mistakes." "I know," his mother said. "And I'm not calling to judge you. I'm calling because I love you and I want you to be okay. Can you come to dinner this weekend? Please?" "Yeah," Trevor said. "Yeah, I can do that." He went to his parents' house on Sunday. They lived in a modest home in the suburbs, the same house Trevor grew up in. His mother made his favorite meal, and they all sat around the dinner table like they had when he was a kid. "Tell us what happened," his father said. "The real story." So Trevor told them. He told them about meeting Brittany, about believing she came from money and power, about leaving Naomi because he thought he was trading up to a better life. He told them about walking into that conference room and seeing Naomi at the head of the table, realizing she had built an empire while he was chasing dreams of climbing someone else's ladder. His mother listened without interrupting. His father's face got more disappointed with every word. "You left your wife because you thought someone else had more money?" his father said finally. "That's what you're telling us?" "Yes," Trevor admitted. "That's what I'm telling you." "Did you love Naomi?" his mother asked quietly. Trevor thought about that question. "I thought I did. But looking back, I don't think I ever really knew her. I never asked about her work. I never paid attention to what she was building. I just saw her as someone safe and stable who would support my career while I chased success." "And now?" his father asked. "Now she's more successful than I'll ever be," Trevor said. "And I threw her away for a lie." His mother reached across the table and took his hand. "You made a terrible mistake, Trevor. But that doesn't mean your life is over. You're young. You have a job. You have your health. You can rebuild. I don't know how to rebuild from this, Trevor admitted. Everything I thought I knew about myself was wrong. I thought I was ambitious and driven, but really I was just greedy and shallow. I thought I deserved more than what I had, but I didn't even appreciate what I had until it was gone. Then learn from it, his father said. Learn that success isn't about money and status. Learn that real partnerships are built on mutual respect and support. Learn that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Trevor nodded. He knew his parents were right. He knew he had to find a way forward. But knowing it and doing it were two different things. He drove home that night thinking about Naomi. About the way she used to smile when she solved a problem on her laptop. About the way she would get excited about new ideas and try to share them with him. About all the times he dismissed her or changed the subject because he thought his work was more important. He had been married to someone extraordinary and treated her like she was ordinary. That was his real mistake. Not leaving her for someone else but never seeing her value in the first place. His phone buzzed with a notification. It was a news alert about Naomi's company. Local tech startup announces Series B funding round, valuation doubles. Trevor read the article. Naomi's company had just secured $50 million in funding from major investors. The company was now valued at over $200 million. The article included a quote from Naomi, "We're grateful for the support of our investors and excited about our future. This funding will allow us to expand our team, enhance our products, and serve even more clients across the country." There was a photo of her at a press conference, looking confident and professional, every inch the successful CEO she had become. Trevor saved the article to his phone. He wasn't sure why. Maybe as a reminder of what he lost. Maybe as motivation to become someone better. Maybe just because seeing her success made him feel something other than the numbness that had settled over his life. Whatever the reason, he kept the article. And late that night, lying alone in the house that used to belong to both of them, Trevor finally let himself cry for everything he had thrown away. 6 months after the annulment from Brittany, Trevor had settled into a routine that felt like survival rather than living. He went to work, came home, ate dinner alone, watched television, and went to bed. On weekends he visited his parents or sat in his house trying not to think about the life he could have had. Then one morning he woke up to a series of texts from former colleagues and friends. They all said the same thing: "Have you seen the news?" Trevor grabbed his laptop and pulled up the local news website. The headline made his stomach drop. Tech company files lawsuit against former employee for misrepresentation and fraud. He read the article with growing horror. Naomi's company was suing Brittany for falsely claiming connections to the company's ownership and using those false claims to gain personal advantage. The lawsuit outlined how Brittany had told multiple people, including Trevor, that her father owned the company when he was actually just one of several executives with no ownership stake. The company was claiming that Brittany's actions had damaged their reputation and created confusion in the business community. They were seeking damages and a public retraction of her false claims. The article included a statement from the company's legal team: "We take fraud and misrepresentation seriously. No employee or employee family member has the right to falsely claim ownership or authority they do not possess. We are pursuing this legal action to protect our company's integrity and ensure that accurate information is available to the public." Trevor called Brittany's old number without thinking. It went straight to voicemail. He tried her parents' number. They didn't answer. Over the next few days, more details came out. Apparently, Brittany had been using her father's position at the company to inflate her own importance in social circles. She had told several people that her family owned a major tech company, and had used that claim to get into exclusive events, join expensive clubs, and generally pretend to be wealthier and more important than she was. Someone had reported her to Naomi's company after seeing one of Brittany's social media posts claiming her father was the CEO. The company investigated and found a pattern of lies that went back over a year. Gerald, Naomi's business partner, gave an interview to a business magazine. "We discovered that family members of one of our executives had been misrepresenting their connection to our company. This is not just unethical, it's potentially illegal. We have a responsibility to our employees, our clients, and our investors to correct false information and hold people accountable." Trevor wondered if Naomi was behind the lawsuit or if it was a corporate decision made by lawyers and executives. He wondered if she even thought about him anymore, or if he was just a footnote in her past, barely worth remembering. The lawsuit made local news for weeks. Brittany's father, the actual COO, resigned from his position at Naomi's company. A statement from the company thanked him for his service but acknowledged that recent events have made it difficult for him to continue in his role. Reading between the lines, Trevor figured they had pressured him to leave rather than firing him outright. Brittany herself disappeared from social media entirely. Her accounts went private or were deleted. She stopped showing up to the social events she used to attend. Someone told Trevor they heard she moved to another state to live with relatives. Trevor felt bad for her in a distant way. She had lied and manipulated people, but so had he in his own way. He had married her for her supposed connections and money. He had used her just as much as she had used him. But mostly he felt tired. Tired of drama, tired of consequences, tired of living in the wreckage of his mistakes. He started seeing a therapist. His insurance from work covered it, and he figured he needed help processing everything that had happened. The therapist, a woman in her 50s named Dr. Martinez, listened to his story without judgment. "You're carrying a lot of regret," she said during one of their sessions. "Yes," Trevor agreed. "I regret everything. Leaving Naomi, marrying Brittany, not seeing what was in front of me for 8 years. Regret is useful if it teaches you something," Dr. Martinez said. "But it's destructive if it becomes the only thing you feel. What have you learned from all of this?" Trevor thought about that. "I learned that I valued the wrong things. I thought success meant money and status and connections. I thought I deserved more than what I had without appreciating what I had in the first place." "What do you value now?" "Honestly, I don't know," Trevor admitted. "I'm still trying to figure that out." "That's okay," Dr. Martinez said. "You're rebuilding. That takes time." Rebuilding. Trevor liked that word. It implied that something new could be built, even after everything fell apart. He started making small changes. He joined a gym and started working out in the mornings before work. He reconnected with old friends he had lost touch with during his marriage to Brittany. He volunteered at a community center on weekends, helping low-income families with financial planning. The work at the community center surprised him. He was good at it. He could take his sales skills, understanding people, finding solutions, making things work, and use them to actually help people instead of just making money. One of the people he helped was a single mother named Angela who was trying to start a small business selling homemade skincare products. She had the products, the passion, and the drive, but she had no idea how to handle the business side. Trevor worked with her for months, helping her set up an LLC, create a business plan, and develop a marketing strategy. When her business finally launched and started making sales, Angela hugged him with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she said. "You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." That moment meant more to Trevor than any sales commission he had ever earned. He kept seeing news about Naomi's company. They continued to grow, continued to succeed. One article announced they were opening offices in 3 new cities. Another article profiled Naomi as one of the top women in tech under 40. There was a photo of Naomi and James at a charity gala, both of them dressed formally and smiling at each other. The caption identified James as a successful architect and Naomi's partner. They looked happy together. They looked like equals. Trevor studied the photo for a long time. He could see in that picture everything he had failed to give Naomi: respect, partnership, genuine affection. James looked at her like she was the most interesting person in the room. Trevor had never looked at her that way. He closed the article and went back to his work helping Angela with her business plan. This was his life now. Not glamorous, not wealthy, not the success story he used to dream about. But real and honest and maybe starting to mean something. Dr. Martinez asked him in a later session if he had forgiven himself. "No," Trevor said. "I don't know if I can." "Why not?" "Because I hurt someone who didn't deserve it," Trevor said. "Naomi built something incredible and I dismissed it as nothing. I left her for someone I thought could give me more, without realizing I already had everything that mattered." "You can acknowledge that you hurt her without punishing yourself forever," Dr. Martinez said gently. "She's moved on. She's successful and happy. Maybe it's time for you to move on too." "I don't know how to do that," Trevor admitted. "One day at a time," Dr. Martinez said. "One choice at a time. You're already doing better than you think. You're helping people at the community center. You're reconnecting with friends. You're being honest with yourself about your mistakes. That's growth." Trevor left that session feeling slightly less heavy. Maybe Dr. Martinez was right. Maybe he could rebuild. Maybe he could become someone better than the person who left his wife for money and status. It wouldn't fix what he broke. It wouldn't change what he lost. But maybe, eventually, it would be enough. 18 months after the divorce, Naomi stood in her office on a Friday afternoon, looking out at the city skyline. In her hand was a glass of champagne. Around her were Gerald, her executive team, and several key employees who had been with the company from the beginning. Today, Gerald said, raising his own glass, we celebrate. Our company just went public at a valuation of $800 million. Naomi, you did it. You built something incredible. Everyone cheered and clinked glasses. Naomi smiled, feeling a surge of pride that was almost overwhelming. She had started this company in a spare bedroom with nothing but an idea and determination. Now it was a publicly traded corporation employing over 300 people across 5 offices. I didn't do it alone, Naomi said, her voice carrying across the room. Every person in this room helped build this company. Every late night, every problem solved, every client served, we did that together. This success belongs to all of us. More cheers, more champagne, more celebration. After a while, people started filtering out, heading to the planned party at a downtown restaurant. Gerald lingered behind with Naomi. How does it feel? He asked. Surreal, Naomi admitted. Good but surreal. 2 years ago I was married to someone who thought I was ordinary. Now I'm standing here as the CEO of a publicly traded company. It's a lot to process. You were never ordinary, Gerald said. Trevor was just too blind to see it. Maybe, Naomi said. Or maybe I needed him to leave so I could fully become who I was meant to be. I don't know. Either way, I'm grateful for where I ended up. Her phone buzzed with a text from James. Congratulations, brilliant woman. I'm so proud of you. Can't wait to celebrate properly tonight. Naomi smiled at the message. James had been at the stock exchange that morning when the company went public, standing beside her and cheering louder than anyone else. He had never been intimidated by her success. If anything, he loved it. He loved watching her work, hearing about her challenges, celebrating her victories. They had been together for over a year now, taking things slow but steady. He respected her independence and her work. He had his own successful architecture firm, so he understood the demands of building a business. They were partners in the truest sense, supporting each other without either one trying to outshine or diminish the other. You should go, Gerald said, interrupting her thoughts. Enjoy your night. You earned this. Naomi gathered her things and headed down to the parking garage. As she walked to her car, she thought about how much had changed. New office, new relationship, new life. Everything was different now, and all of it was better. She drove to the restaurant where the celebration party was being held. The place was packed with her employees, investors, friends, and James. He was waiting for her at their reserved table, looking handsome in a suit. There she is, he said, standing to pull out her chair. The CEO herself. Stop, Naomi said, laughing. You're going to make me blush. Good, James said, kissing her cheek. You should blush. You accomplished something amazing today. They ate dinner surrounded by people who genuinely cared about Naomi and her success. No one was there because they wanted something from her. No one was trying to use her connections or her money. They were just happy for her. Michelle was there, sitting across from them with her lawyer boyfriend. I'm so proud of you, Michelle said, reaching across the table to squeeze Naomi's hand. I knew you'd make it here eventually, but watching it actually happen is incredible. Thank you for always believing in me, Naomi said. Even when I didn't believe in myself. Always, Michelle promised. Later that night, after the party wound down, Naomi and James went for a walk along the waterfront. The city lights reflected off the water and the air was cool and fresh. They walked in comfortable silence for a while, just enjoying being together. Can I tell you something? James said eventually. Of course. I love you, he said simply. I've been wanting to say it for a while now, but tonight felt like the right time. I love who you are, what you've built, and how you treat the people around you. I love everything about you. Naomi stopped walking and turned to face him. I love you too, she said. I didn't think I would feel this way again after Trevor. But you're nothing like him. You see me for who I really am and you love me anyway. Not anyway, James corrected. Because of who you are. That's why I love you. They kissed there by the waterfront, and Naomi felt happier than she had in years. Maybe ever. Over the next few months, life continued to be good. The company's stock performed well. They signed several major new clients. They expanded to 2 more cities. Naomi was featured in national business magazines and invited to speak at conferences. She heard through mutual friends that Trevor was doing okay. He had stayed at his old company, working his way back up to a decent position. He was volunteering at a community center and seemed to be trying to become a better person. She didn't wish him ill. She just didn't wish him anything at all anymore. He was part of her past, a chapter closed, a lesson learned. One Saturday morning, James suggested they go house hunting. Your apartment is great, he said. But you can afford something better now. And maybe, if things keep going the way they're going, we could look for a place together? Together? Naomi asked, her heart skipping a beat. Only if you want to, James said quickly. No pressure. I just thought, we've been together for a while now. We're both in good places in our careers. Maybe it's time to think about the future. Naomi thought about the house she had shared with Trevor, the one she had worked so hard to buy, the one she had walked away from without a second thought. She thought about how much she had changed since then. I would love to look at houses with you, Naomi said. Together. They spent the next few months looking at properties. Nothing felt quite right until they found a modern house in a quiet neighborhood, with big windows and an open floor plan and a yard perfect for the dog they talked about getting someday. This is it, Naomi said the moment she walked in. This is home. James agreed and they put in an offer that same day. The offer was accepted and 2 months later they moved in together. Naomi stood in the living room of their new house, surrounded by boxes and furniture and possibilities. James came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. Happy? He asked. So happy, Naomi said, and she meant it. I didn't know I could feel this way. Content and excited at the same time. That's how it's supposed to feel, James said. Building a life with someone who actually sees you. Later that evening, after they had unpacked enough to be functional, they sat on their new couch and ordered pizza. They talked about their plans for the house, for their future, for everything they wanted to build together. Naomi's phone buzzed with a message from Rachel. Saw the news about the new office in Austin. We're crushing it, boss. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. Naomi smiled and typed back, thanks. Enjoy yours too. She set the phone down and looked at James. You know what's funny? 2 years ago, I thought my life was falling apart. My husband left me, my marriage ended, and I felt like I had failed at everything. And now? James asked. Now I realize that my life was actually just beginning, Naomi said. Everything that happened pushed me to finally live as my full self instead of hiding parts of me away. I get to run a company I built. I get to be with someone who loves me for who I really am. I get to wake up every morning excited about my life. You deserve all of it, James said. Every bit of success, every bit of happiness. You earned it. Naomi leaned against him, feeling safe and loved and seen. She thought about the girl she had been in college, dreaming of building something meaningful with technology. She thought about the woman she had been in her marriage, hiding her success and making herself small. And she thought about the woman she was now, confident and accomplished and finally free. Thank you, she said to James. For what? For seeing me, Naomi said simply. Really seeing me. Always, James promised and kissed the top of her head. They sat there together in their new house, surrounded by the life they were building, and Naomi felt complete. Not because of James, but because she had finally found herself. The relationship was just the beautiful addition to a life she had built on her own terms. 6 months later, Naomi sat in her office reading an email from a young woman who had just started her own tech company. The woman had read about Naomi's story and wanted advice on how to grow her business while protecting herself and her assets. Naomi wrote back with detailed advice, sharing the lessons she had learned the hard way. She told the woman to trust her instincts, protect her work, and never make herself smaller to make someone else comfortable. Build your empire, Naomi wrote, and never apologize for your success. The right people will celebrate it with you. The wrong people will leave. Let them. She hit send and returned to her work, running the company she built, planning her future with James, and living the life she always deserved. Trevor had once told her she was holding him back. But the truth was she had been the one held back by a man who couldn't see her value. Now finally free, she soared. And she never looked back.